Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a true million-dollar question. How exactly do you start importing from Brazil to Bangladesh? We are taking a pretty dense 12-step sourcing guide and transforming it into a clear, no-nonsense blueprint. So whether you're an established industrialist trying to cut down on input costs, or you're an ambitious entrepreneur hunting for that next big niche, we're going to break down exactly how you can tap into one of the most resource-rich markets on the planet.
And let's be clear, the momentum in this trade corridor is just massive. We aren't just talking about a little bump in growth. Brazilian exports to Bangladesh literally leaped. We went from $2.24 billion in the 2021-2022 fiscal year straight up to $2.66 billion by the 23-24 fiscal year. So what does that actually mean for you? Well, it proves that sourcing from Brazil isn't just a playground for giant global commodity traders anymore. It's an accessible, highly profitable frontier for emerging businesses for sure.
You might be wondering, what's actually driving those billions of dollars? Simply put, it's the raw inputs for Bangladesh's incredibly hungry industrial sector. With such a fast-growing import-dependent economy, local textile mills and food processors are increasingly leaning on Brazil's agricultural heavy hitters, mainly soybeans, rock cotton, and cane sugar. To put that scale into perspective, Brazil's ag sector produces enough to feed and clothe over 1 billion people globally. Tapping into that kind of volume and quality is an absolute game changer for diversifying your supply chain.
To make this massive opportunity a bit easier to digest, we've organized the original 12-step process into 4 manageable phases. We'll hit Phase 1, preparation, then Phase 2, sourcing safely, Phase 3, logistics, and Phase 4, smart scaling. And we'll top it all off by introducing your ultimate partner in trade. Let's get right into it.
Okay, starting right off with Phase 1, preparation. This is all about getting your paperwork in order locally before you even think about hitting send on an email to South America.
The very first thing you've got to do is ask yourself a make or break question. Is your specific product actually legally importable? You know, importing isn't just buying something online. It's a strictly regulated legal process. You really have to dig into local market demand, customs duties, and import regulations. Doing your homework up front is literally the only way to avoid the absolute nightmare of having your cargo stuck at the port, bleeding your capital dry with daily demurrage fees.
To get this right, you absolutely must have your foundational paperwork locked in with the Bangladesh authorities. We're talking your import registration certificate, a valid trade license with your TIN and BIN, a dedicated trade bank account, and crucially, any sector-specific approvals. Trying to negotiate a deal without these is a rookie mistake. Like if you're bringing in plant-based goods, say raw cotton or soybeans, you desperately need a phytosanitary certificate to prove it's pest-free. Missing that one piece of paper can completely derail the whole shebang.
So, your house is in order. Let's move on to Phase 2, sourcing safely. This is where we tackle finding partners, securing finance, and honestly, navigating the riskiest parts of international trade.
There is a massive divide between amateur and professional sourcing. Amateurs, they're out there relying on random WhatsApp offers for bulk commodities. They fall for fake allocation letters or wire incredibly risky advance payments for ghost ships full of cheap sugar that simply don't exist. Scammers know this stuff is in high demand. Professionals, though, they bulletproof their deals. They rely on third-party inspections from recognized agencies like SGS or Bureau Veritas. They get institutional verification, and they always use secure letters of credit. Seriously, never rely on unverified documents.
Once you do find a verified partner, you've got to nail down your Incoterms, your shipping terms. You'll usually be looking at FOB versus CIF. With CIF, the Brazilian supplier handles the cost, insurance, and freight all the way to Chattogram or Mongla. Sounds great for beginners, right? But FOB, free on board, where the supplier just drops it at the Brazilian port, actually gives experienced buyers way better control. When you handle the freight yourself, you negotiate rates with your own local forwarding agents, which completely prevents the supplier from baking hidden shipping markups into your final bill. Now here is where a lot of newcomers fail. They only look at that initial FOB or CIF price tag. You have to calculate your real landed cost. Believe it or not, there can be up to 15 different hidden cost components between a farm in Brazil and your warehouse floor in Bangladesh. To make sure you're actually profitable, you've got to factor in ocean freight, insurance, letter of credit charges, customs duty, VAT, advanced income tax, inland transport, the works. If you aren't calculating all 15 elements before opening your LC, you are basically flying blind.
All right, shifting gears to Phase 3, logistics. Let's talk about physically moving your cargo across the oceans and actually clearing it safely through Bangladesh customs. Documentation is the absolute backbone here, and it lives in two distinct worlds. On the commercial side, you've got your pro forma invoice, your packing list, and the bill of lading. Over on the regulatory side, it's things like your certificate of origin and quality inspection certificates. The stakes on these are insanely high. A single typo in an HS code classification or a missing fumigation stamp, that can trigger severe delays, excess duties, and huge penalties. You really need an experienced clearing and forwarding agent who knows your specific products inside and out to navigate this maze.
Which brings us right into Phase 4, smart scaling. At the end of the day, a successful import only happens when you actually sell those goods profitably to an end consumer.
Let's look at how this plays out in the real world. Imagine a local entrepreneur wanting to bring in premium Brazilian coffee. You definitely don't start by chartering a massive bulk vessel. That's just a recipe for a cash flow disaster. Instead, start small. Bring in a single container to test the waters in boutique cafes. Then use that to build brand awareness. Once you prove the demand is there, appoint local distributors. Finally, scale up to a full exclusive dealership. Building your sales channels before the ship even leaves Brazil takes the pressure off your storage space and keeps your business breathing.
Finally, let's check out our last major topic, your partner in trade, the BBCI connection. Because you absolutely do not have to figure out this massive geographical and cultural puzzle on your own. The Brazil-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the BBCII, is literally your strategic bridge. They offer the vital institutional support you need. They handle supplier identification, so you aren't just Googling and hoping you find a legitimate farmer in Mato Grosso. They do direct B2B matchmaking, provide market intelligence, and handle chamber-to-chamber cooperation. Working with them helps you bypass those shady middlemen we talked about and lets you build solid, verified partnerships right from day one.
And here's an incredible insider tip you'll want to jump on. The Made in Bangladesh Expo 2026 in São Paulo. Sure, it's mainly about promoting local exports to South America, but it is also a brilliant backdoor for Bangladeshi buyers to meet massive Brazilian commodity suppliers face-to-face. That face-to-face networking is absolutely crucial for building long-lasting trust. It's a rare chance to literally shake hands with the very people supplying your soybeans, cotton, or sugar.
Everything we've unpacked today really just boils down to this. The future of Bangladesh-Brazil trade belongs to the businesses that act early, prepare professionally, and build trusted partnerships. Importing from Brazil isn't a one-and-done transaction of a cheap container. It's about establishing a highly reliable, long-term commercial corridor that can fuel your company's growth for decades.
So now that you've got the complete blueprint, the strategic steps, and the knowledge of the institutional support out there waiting for you, it's time to take action. The bridge to Brazil is right there. Are you going to be the one to capture those incredible margins, or are you going to let your competitors beat you to the punch? What's the very first step you're going to take today to diversify your supply chain?